ladies. Welcome back to the Let's Talk Bikini podcast. Today we have a special guest on Dr. Effie. Welcome, Dr. Effie.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Effie, and what you do, and yeah.
So I'm a clinical psychologist. I've been a clinical psychologist for just over 18 years, so a long time. And I see adults, and I specialise mostly in anxiety and depression. But more recently, I've gotten into working more with bodybuilders because I'm also an amateur bodybuilder myself, and I'm going to compete very soon in this season, and so I've been drawn to help them as well to really nail their mindset and empower them to overcome any barriers that are getting in the way. I feel there's a real gap in having mental health support for bodybuilders.
100%, I totally agree with you, which is exactly why I wanted you on the podcast, to be honest. Like, as soon as I saw you, I think you followed me on Instagram, and I was like,
yeah,
clinical psychologist that does bodybuilding, who is this?
I just asked how you two knew each other, but
yeah,
just through Instagram.
Through Instagram,
Yep.
we've met, just follow each other.
Connects everybody.
Yeah, it does. Social media.
So good.
But yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree. There's a large gap for mental health in bodybuilding. Saying that, actually, Jess Marnie, she's another coach on my team with my business, and she's got like 10 years of like working with mental health nursing with people with binge eating. And just seeing that side of things as well, like it opened my eyes into what a big gap there is in the mental health. So yeah,
totally, because the bottom line is people do struggle. It's a difficult sport, and it challenges you, so it's going to affect your mindset. And I think like your role as a coach is to help with the physique and training and all of that and nutrition, but it can be tricky to then help people deal with mindset. So I think it's good if there's somewhere else they can go to deal with that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. With your studies, so as we know, psychology is a massive stint of studying. How long and how many degrees did you have to do to become a clinical psychologist?
Okay, so altogether it took about 8 years.
Okay.
Wow.
So it was like a bachelor's degree, so that's 3 years. Then you do another year, which is an honours year, so that makes it 4. And then after that I did a doctorate, so that was like 3.5, went into 4. So yeah.
Okay. Is this something you always had wanted to do growing up, or what inspired you to go down this path?
Yeah, I've always it's the only career I've had, and I love it, and it is something I've always wanted to do, but probably more like became clearer to me towards the end of high school. I've just always wanted to be, I was always a helper, like, I'm like the oldest child of 3, and I always wanted to help the little kids and siblings, and that was just kind of me, and so I think it just suited my personality. And yeah, so that's kind of what led me down that path, that cliche of wanting to help. And as I've done it, I've sort of figured out, what I like more and what problems I like to help with more. And now it's becoming even narrower. So yes, it's really good.
Amazing. And you're competing soon, IFBB, is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this have you competed before? And what state are you competing in? Is it Melbourne?
It's Melbourne, yeah. So it's my first IFBB. I did compete before with the INBA. So that was just after COVID in 2021, and then I did another one in 2022, and then I took this 2-year gap. So I thought I'll go for this federation now. So I'm excited.
Amazing. Who did you start competing with, Claire?
ICN.
Yeah, okay, I thought so. I was going to say, everyone always starts in like the INBAs, ICNs.
Yeah.
When I first started competing, it was INBA because ICN wasn't out yet. They split.
Yes, yeah.
It's always a stepping stone, isn't it?
It's a good introduction into the industry.
Yeah, look, I had a great experience. It was a nice small federation, and very welcoming. I loved it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how that first experience was, and
Yeah, it was. Oh, look, it was definitely very nerve-wracking, um, and huge learning experience for me because I'm actually not from like any sporting background whatsoever. I mean, we can talk about how I got into this, but this. So I just really, it was a huge challenge for me, but it was amazing as well to completely go out of my comfort zone and do something like that. It actually taught me a lot as a person, but also like for how I help people, how challenging yourself helps you to grow as a person.
absolutely.
Amazing. So you said that so you're working more with bodybuilders now. Your experience so far, what do you see, kind of what do you do with bodybuilders when you're helping them?
Yeah, so obviously depends what the issue is, but the most common issues are the body dysmorphia, or a fear of food. Like especially when you're sort of after competing, and then you're going into improvement season, and you've got to start reintroducing food. Some people are afraid of food, and the other major one is social issues. So how to deal with family or a partner or friends, those kind of situations when you're not eating and they are, or you've got to do things differently, or maybe you can't go out. So a lot of people struggle with that and feel people don't understand. So they are the major issues that I've seen. And then some people just have other, they want to compete, but they've got stresses in their life, and those stresses are getting in the way, and they just want to be able to manage them better so that they can be the best athlete that they can be and not let that get in the way. So yeah, it's just different from person to person.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I think I totally agree with all that. Like thinking our experience as being athletes, probably not so much the food side of things. I think I was always good at that, but
No.
but yeah, I can definitely understand all the rest of it.
Mm.
And do your clients talk to you a bit about why they started competing, or what inspired them to compete? What are the main reasons usually?
Yeah, so some, it has been because they've been through a struggle of some sort in their life, and, want to do something for themselves, and something where they challenge themselves, and, like self-improvement. And they get into that. And so that then they go through that process and feel like that actually helps them grow as a person, get stronger mentally as well as physically. For some people, it's, they've had a body transformation. Maybe they lost a lot of weight, and and then want to take it to the next level and challenge themselves further and display, the hard work. So they seem to be probably the two most common themes. And then others, it's just people who have always been kind of sporty and just thinking, well, how can I level up and take it to another level now?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. With so you said that you work with people that kind of struggle with their relationships and their partners are like not understanding. Do you, because I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of the time sometimes the stress of prep, like just the stress of it itself, or having two completely different worlds and partners not understanding it, that it will sometimes like tear a relationship apart. So do you think, from what you've seen, like a lot of relationships make through it quite well, or does it end up like unfortunately making them separate?
Yeah. What I've seen is that luckily when people present to me, because they present those problems, we work on how to communicate that better so that they can actually address it, so it doesn't get to breaking up because you're doing something that you want, a goal you want to pursue. And I think the issue is that it's just sometimes it's not communicated properly, why you're doing what you're doing. People might just say, this is something I want to do, and I'm going to do it. And then, partner might not understand, well, what, we can't go to restaurants now, and we can't do this, and what now, you've got to all these hours at the gym, and I don't see you. And I think that what people fail to communicate with their partner is why they're doing it. It's not just I'm doing it and this is what it involves, but why you're doing it. Like, why is it important to you? How is it? How do you feel like it's going to help you and benefit you? Because if you explain to someone why you're doing it, it gives them an opportunity to understand you. It's very hard to support someone if you don't really understand why they're doing it.
Especially because it's a huge lifestyle shift as well.
Yeah.
Not just a subtle little change you're making to your lifestyle, it's everything changes.
That's exactly right. So, you know, there's like, I think, a few different things that you need to communicate with a partner. Yeah, the why, like why you're doing it in the first place, how it would help you, how you feel like, you know, it could make you a better person. But the other part is, yeah, to set realistic expectations. This is what it's going to look like. You know, these are the things I can do and these are the things I can't do. But at the end of the day, it's only a phase as well, right? You're not doing it forever. So it's to explain, you know, it will be this many weeks. And, you know, as long as you're painting a realistic picture, the person can understand. But if you kind of just say, I'm going to do this, and you go day by day, and then they're seeing the changes and they haven't had a chance to process that this is what's happening, then it will be difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. It's just like a phase that it's actually over like that.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're in the moment and you're starting, it feels like it's going to take.
Very true.
The rest of your life is going to be prep.
Yes.
Feels.
Totally.
Yeah.
I know.
And you compete and it's like you just blinked and it was over.
Totally. I feel that right now. It's in 2.5.
Oh, you're 2.5.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling right now?
Right now, I feel pretty good, to be honest. I feel pretty good. Bit of the prep brain going on, but like I forget some things, you know. But
and that's normal.
Yeah. I've got something in the oven. I'm texting someone and I'm like, where's my phone? And I'm texting, you know, things like that. That literally happened today. I'm texting my daughter, I'm going out now. And then I'm like, where's my phone? I text her to help me find my phone and I'm looking at it like this.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I've gone nuts. But yeah. So that kind of stuff. But otherwise I'm surprisingly good. So I'm enjoying it. I love it. I love this. So
that's the main thing.
Yeah.
I want to touch on the other kind of topics that you mainly focus on as well. So let's talk about like the fear of food after competition. So I feel like this isn't really like I see it with clients, yes, but I don't get fear of food myself. So kind of what's the kind of like process? What do your clients come with? What do they do when they come to you and they've got this fear of food?
Okay. So I think, you know, a lot of it relates to gut issues. People are afraid that, they might have gut issues if they all of a sudden reintroduce maybe foods that were either problematic before or just after being depleted, for a long time. They don't really want to see the scales go up. Some people, this is obviously related to their body image, right? And so that's where that fear comes from. So it's either how they're going to react to the food, like they're worried they're going to have some reaction, or they're worried about just being uncomfortable about, bulking, right? So it depends which one it is. If it's like a gut thing, obviously I'm not a medical doctor, but if it's really a fear rather than really a gut issue, then we have to do it slowly. So we actually talk about, okay, well, we don't wait till the day where you feel like you can do it. We have to, get your body used to it. So start small, right? Have like one bite of this, whatever the food, the problematic food is, and then the next day have a little bit more and a little bit more. So and then each time you kind of accumulate evidence that, oh, okay, I'm okay. Nothing bad happened to me. I'm okay. I survived. That's generally how we get over a fear. You start small and you incrementally, increase it. If it's the other issue, if it's more a body image issue, that's quite different. So then we need to look at what that's about. Why is someone fearful of that? Is it about how they're going to be perceived? That they looked all glammed up on stage, and they're worried now they're going to be perceived differently because they're not going to look the same. Is it, just a discomfort? So, and I think, again, this is where it's so important to have realistic expectations when you go into a prep, because bodybuilding is not about maintaining the exact same physique all year round. Unlike some people that, in the general population that may want to stay slim and try and just maintain that, this is very, very different. You go through all these phases, and I think some people are not aware of that when they're just starting off. That it's not like you go through a bulk and then you compete and then that's it. Like, if you want to continue, you're going to have to be a bit uncomfortable, but it's for a good cause. It's to get better.
Absolutely. I think like a lot of it, obviously, like in the last 10 years or so with social media around, it is very glamorized, right? And I guess everyone sees all the highlights and
exactly.
And unless you've been through it, you don't know how you actually feel. But I think you said with setting proper expectations is like from the get-go is very important. Like bodybuilding is like, it's both ends, right? You get very lean for stage, but then you also need to build muscle. Like that's part of bodybuilding. And in order to build muscle, you have to get to an uncomfortable kind of level of like, not extreme comfortable where you're like blowing out, but
yes,
a bit fluffier than what you would like to maintain. And that's the sport of bodybuilding, and that's why bodybuilding is such a hard sport, because it's so much mental game, right? It's the mental game of like getting through that lean state to get on stage, but then also the flip side of it of persevering and continuing to do, even though you're not seeing the work, because in off season you don't really see the growth. You just
yeah, you might get stronger, so that feels good. Like performance, gets better, but yeah, you don't see. You have to really trust the process, don't you?
Yeah, I understand, and I think that's a big part of it as well. Just when you're reversing and when you're in off season, like yes, the end goal is to grow your shape when you get on stage, of course, but try and flip the goal with some performance goals, anything that's not like body image related, and then
that's
when you have a coach and you trust the process.
Yes.
Trust your
totally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to like, if you love your body, like loving your body in prep season and out of prep as well. Because I know when I first started competing, I really struggled with accepting my body and loving my body outside of prep, because I felt so good being shredded and really lean, and then going into that off season, this was back in 2017 and 2018, I struggled to accept my body with more body fat, and it took me probably a couple years to get to a point where I felt I was happy in my own skin, like in and out of prep, and when I got to that point, I enjoyed everything so much more. Like I enjoyed my off season so much more. I enjoyed my prep so much more. But yeah, it's hard to get to that point sometimes. Where you love the body, in any condition.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like with myself as well, and you're probably the same. But in the beginning, when you start bodybuilding, it's like, oh my God, I'm so lean. I've never seen myself like this. And you want to hold on to it, right?
Yes.
In an unhealthy way. Like you're going to go and slam yourself in the gym every time you get a food increase. Hold on to that conditioning, and then you end up at some point just burn out. But I feel like the longer I've been competing, like my mindset around like how I look in prep, how I look in off season is like actually in an incredibly healthy way, right? Like I remember as I was an amateur in off seasons, like looking back on photos now, I would still be very lean. I still had abs in off season, but I hated my body then. Like I was like,
we thought we were thick, and we thought we were.
And I just wasn't like, I guess, happy in who I was, and I made my kind of image and how I felt about my image affect my personality and whatever. Whereas like now, like if amateur me saw me now, I'll be like, oh, she's chunky, and I'm like I'm comfortable as fuck, and
Good.
I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm energized now.
Living life, I can have a conversation. Like, I'm not socially awkward, because I used to, like what you said, being quite socially awkward when you're in prep, and because it's quite isolating. But yeah, but just like, I guess I feel like the longer I've done it now, I'm way more accepting of, yep, when I'm lean, it's for show, and it's literally for show. And I actually don't like maintaining a physique under 8 weeks anymore. Like, I don't. I like to be normal and hold a conversation with someone.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, like, for me also, like, some, there was like some practical things that I had to deal with that I didn't expect, for like clothes not fitting. And it's not like I'm in activewear all the time, because when I work with clients like one-on-one, I go into like an office and I wear like dress kind of pants, and I couldn't button them up or zip them up, and I thought, I'm just going to have to accept that I need another wardrobe for like the growth phase. And elasticized waist pants have become my favorite thing, and I've just bought a whole bunch of those, and that's my wardrobe. But I've just I also just had to accept, okay, so this size doesn't fit, and there's a wardrobe for that phase and a wardrobe for this phase.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Just acceptance, really.
Yeah. Yes. For sure.
Cool. Body dysmorphia, I want to touch into that a little bit before we go into some questions, but I feel like that's a massive one, especially with bodybuilding. Do you feel like people have body dysmorphia before going into like their first preps, or is it something that develops when they're competing?
Look, I think that usually there's some background of body image, issues, and it just becomes super accentuated when you're competing, because of the fact that you don't stay the same. And in order to improve, you have to, like we just said, go into like a bulk, and that's where it starts messing with some people, and and then they go into a comp again and they look at themselves, and I mean, body dysmorphia is essentially when the way you're perceiving your body is not realistic. It's not based on reality. It's just based on your perception, rather than what it truly is. So you almost can't really rely on yourself to judge, to judge what you're seeing. That's where it's good to have a coach and someone that can tell you, actually, you're fine. you're right on track. You're right where you need to be, and and trust in that. And it's it's a process. Essentially, it's really learning to sit with some discomfort and trust the process.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely agree with that. Definitely sounds like something at the end of prep as well, where you not think you'd lean enough.
Yeah, that's right.
Cool. Anything you want to add to that, Claire?
No, I'm happy to continue. You said you had a few questions.
Yes, I do. So, first question. How to manage your day when everything feels overwhelming and like you have nothing to give? Epi, I'll let you answer that first, and then I guess we can put in.
Yeah, for sure. So first of all, the first thing I will look at is if that person is getting enough sleep, to start with, because that's going to help in general, right? So if you if you're going to the gym at 4 a.m. and then you're rushing and doing all sorts of other things, you can absolutely expect you're going to get a bit irritable and that you'll have nothing to give. So that's the first thing. But look, I think the other thing too is just kind of having that self-awareness. Like, as you're noticing that you're more depleted and you're more overwhelmed, you're going to need to be a bit more organized and actually plan your day, not kind of wing it and go with the flow, because that's when things can just get very, very overwhelming. So for me as well, like, I also I have to plan what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, and when I know what to expect next, and how your day's planned out, it's easier to to navigate through it. But if you really are feeling overwhelmed, then that's just a signal to you that you need to you need to take a breather. You need to you listen to your body, and you need to sit down and either have a rest or have a nap, or just think, okay, what just happened here? What do I actually need to do? Write it down if you need to. Problem solve, like, okay, what's the problem right now? What are some solutions? So I think the general thing is your emotions are there to guide you, to tell you if you're on track or not. If you're feeling overwhelmed, it's obviously telling you there's too much going on. So is this something you can get rid of? Something you need to change? To really look at, rather than just, I'm overwhelmed, what can I do? To take a breather and figure it out, exactly what needs to be removed or changed.
Absolutely. It's just probably like prep teaches you a lot how to prioritize, right? Like
Totally. Yes.
how to balance priorities, etc., etc. If
Yeah.
you're overwhelmed, then it's like, all right, what's the priority right now? And something that's not
Yeah.
priority that can wait, right? Like
Yes, that's
maybe
right.
you've got some priorities that can wait. If you're like 4 weeks out from show, like, okay, those can wait until 4 weeks, leave that there, and then
Absolutely.
but I do feel like getting into preps, it definitely teaches you how to be way more organized with how you do everything, because somehow in prep we become 10 times more productive with fitting and cardio, fitting and training,
Agree.
work, whatever. Whereas now we'll go to 6 o'clock and be like,
during prep, I'm the most structured person. Like, if anyone messes with my routine, they're in trouble. No, but like, I have a routine and I like to stick to it.
Yes.
Whereas now I'm so much more flexible, and like I'm more spontaneous, but I can be, because I'm in my, like, I'm not competing, I'm not prepping. But
Yes.
you're right. Like, it's important to have structure and routine. And
Yeah.
you need it for prep.
Yeah, and I think like at different phases in prep, obviously as you're getting closer, the routine's going to change. And I think that's the other thing. Some people just have this, again, an unrealistic expectation of, well, I've just got to keep going with everything. I've got to do all the things that I always do to have balance, But balance can look different at different phases, right? Like we said, different things take priority. So, towards the end, you've got people around you, your family, you need to communicate, okay, this phase now, the prep has to take priority and other things go to the bottom of the list. I will get back to them. But I think that's where you have to be realistic. If you're trying to still fit everything in and try new business ventures and new, financial stresses or anything like that, that's not the right time.
It's even about like putting in like into your schedule, like downtime, like even blocking out time where you're just doing nothing, relaxing. Like that's a priority towards the end of prep as well. And people realize they need to actually put that into their schedule, like downtime.
Totally. Yeah. Things like sleep, what you mentioned as well, like not only is it stressful mentally, but it's important to how your body responds. Like if you're not getting sleep, your cortisol hormone's going to go up, your body's going to hold on to body fat, it's probably going to use your glycogen energy instead of body fat, so you're going to lose your muscle. Like sleep is definitely, like I said, is a massive foundation to everything. 100%. Next question. This one we can't really answer, but I'll say it anyway. So how does hormones affect your mental state? Is there steps to take during prep to help? So steps during prep.
Look, it's really hard to say without knowing which hormone and what, and because I could, like the person's age, and I don't know, are we dealing with a young person, a menopausal person? I don't know, but you need to see a doctor for that. If you feel it, generally speaking, yes, we know hormones can affect your mood. Let's put it that way. But I think there are supplements, but I wouldn't know exactly. I think that's something I would send someone to a doctor or even a naturopath for that.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a broad one, because of course, like depending on hormone, there's going to be different treatments. But generally, if it's like if you want better sleep and better, like if you're quite stressed, I always say like an ashwagandha is quite good. To give you sleep and relax a little bit, because cortisol is obviously high when you're working, training, lots of cardio, all those kind of things. So
Yeah.
Next question. So this question, I can see both sides of it, so I'd like to go into this a little bit more. But okay, so this question: struggling through prep, not feeling like I'm going to be ready, not feeling support from my coach, and only getting responses on check-in days. Never hear back if I message on other days, feeling deflated, like I should pull the pin. Help, should I change coach? So I feel like when I read this, like old me being a competitor would like doesn't sound good, red flags, get rid of your coach.
Yes.
Like, there is a lot of ungreat coaches out there. But then I can see the flip side of it as well, in terms of like context is everything, right? Like
exactly.
how often are you actually seeing this coach? How many opportunities do you actually get to check in? Where's their mental state? Where's their support system that they have? So like, for example, with my clients, like being quite close to comp, like under 6 weeks, I'll check in with them 2-3 times a week, plus see them for a posing session each week. So being a competitor and a coach, like that's quite a lot of touch points, right? And then in between like messages. If someone feels like they need to be handheld the whole entire time through prep, then I think it's a bit of a red flag of where's your support system, right? Friends, family, all those things, because it is very important to have a support system in prep 100% and have people that around you that understand it. But it is also not your coach's responsibility to be holding your hand throughout the whole entire prep. And if you need that validation a lot, right? Like if you're I guess if you're prepping for the wrong reasons is what I'm trying to say in a way. So so I think from my point of view, first and foremost, and kind of understanding yourself, your reasoning for competing, and like why you are competing, and if it's healthy for you, and setting yourself up for a good prep. So having a good support system around you, communicating with your coach, those kind of things. But yeah, so good coach, of course, you always want to have multiple touch points with them in prep and have that support. But it's also, as athletes, it's also our responsibility to have that support system set up as well.
Yes. Yeah. Look, it is hard to answer it without the context, but I think first of all, the bottom line is communication. Those the issues raised there, I don't know whether they were raised with the coach. Obviously, sometimes we think them ourselves, and maybe we're uncomfortable to say it. We have certain expectations of them, or this person may have certain expectation of their coach that are not met, and so they think, okay, well, that equals a bad coach, right? This is what I need and I'm not getting it. So is that communicated? Have they said to their coach, I was hoping to get more of this? Is that possible? That will be the first thing that I look at. If it's something else and they're feeling quite uncomfortable for whatever reason, then look at changing coach. You need to be comfortable, with who you've chosen. But also I'm wondering, like, at what stage of prep the person is in, because if you've gone through most of the prep and this is now towards the end, a lot of times people get quite anxious, right, and judge their physique a lot more, and then wondering, I don't know if I'm ready, and and then start to question maybe if the coach is the right coach. But if you've gone through the prep all this time, giving up on it now, particularly when you're depleted, it might not be the right time to make a difficult decision like that. But also that would tell me that, if this person has been able to follow the plan to that end point, they clearly have the ability to get through a prep, right? They have what it takes, but maybe, this anxiety is getting in the way, if they're going to be ready and so on. So it depends on really what's going on for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like if you're quite close to getting on stage, and of course your anxiety is heightened, and like, of course you're going to be like fight or flight, kind of like.
Yes.
We know from experience, never make big decisions towards the end of prep pace.
No.
Don't break up with your boyfriend when you're shows in the USA.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, that's exactly right. You might regret like some decisions
Yeah.
you make.
Yeah, let them happen. Anyway, what from what you were just saying, so if someone was like, you know, compliant through the whole prep and they were just getting a bit stressed towards the end and like beginning that fight or flight.
Yeah.
On the flip side, what if they weren't quite compliant through their prep? Like when they transitioned into prep, they were still maybe having some binging episodes, or they were eating foods quite off plan and wasn't really enjoying the process. Would you, I guess, how would you approach them in that aspect of if they're doing that throughout their prep and then questioning it towards the end?
Yeah. Look, I think the key thing you said there is if they're not enjoying the prep, you have to enjoy the prep in order to get through it. That's important. You know, of course, it's going to be uncomfortable. Just because something's uncomfortable doesn't mean you don't necessarily enjoy it, because you know, you make progress and you see results and so on. But if you're not enjoying it and you're not compliant, you're not going to see progress, right? So you're not going to see results. So there's nothing there to reward you, to help you get that momentum and keep going and push through. And also, as you mentioned as well, you know, why are you doing it then? Right, like you have to have your why to help you push forward. Come on, I really want to do this because I set this goal and I want to challenge myself and improve myself. So I've got to, you know, this is going to help me achieve that. If someone's not compliant, it might not be that important to them, and maybe they didn't know that at the beginning. Maybe they thought this is important, I really want to do it. And as they get through it, they're like, I don't actually enjoy this. This is not what I thought it would be. I don't feel like I've got that drive to really push through. And that's okay. It doesn't have to be for you. But it's also okay to discover that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Like, everyone's different, right? Like,
Yeah.
you do have to love it, or you're going to be miserable as hell, and there's going to be no outcome, regardless of if you win or you lose, right? It's about the journey, and it's not about the end goal. Like,
yes,
doesn't say anything about yourself either. Like, it doesn't mean you weren't strong enough to finish a prep or anything like that. It just wasn't for you, you know. And a lot of people are trying it, and I wouldn't expect everyone to finish a prep. Yeah, because it isn't for everyone.
Yeah, just like if I tried to go start training for a triathlon, and that's not me. It's not me. It's the exact same with bodybuilding.
absolutely. You know, we go into things with all the best intentions, right? But sometimes you discover, you know, whether it's a job, it could be a degree, you know, and you can imagine yourself doing it. You think this is what you want. You start off and you're like, no, this is not what I thought it would be. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But first and foremost, there's, you know, life's too short. Make sure you're enjoying it. You either enjoy it, embrace the challenge, or it's not for you, and that's okay as well. Go fill your life and fill your cup with other things that do.
Yeah. And you need to enjoy being an actual bodybuilder first in order to enjoy a prep anyway, right? It's not just about competing, right? Anyway, so it's important you enjoy it from the beginning, that you enjoy the training, that you enjoy pushing yourself, all of that.
Enjoy food.
Yeah, enjoy the food. Absolutely, all of it. The whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything to add, Claire?
Did we have any other questions, or were they?
That's pretty much our questions.
Yeah, I think we've covered mostly everything. What about you, Steph? Anything else?
I think I'm pretty happy with that.
Awesome.
Cool. So Effie, where can people contact you if they would like to work with you?
So the easiest is if you are on Instagram, then I've got my page where there's links there to how to work with me. So that's at the Bodybuilding Psychologist, and just an underscore after that and bodybuilding. And yeah, there's a link there if you want to inquire about working with me one-on-one, whether it's just about, you know, like mindset and you know, being able to push through in a prep, or if it's something more clinical, like maybe there's stress or anxiety or mood that's getting in the way, that you want to really handle those issues better so that you can be, you know, the best athlete you can be.
Yeah, 100%.
And we'll include Effie links in the uploads as well.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So it's access for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. But last thing I would like to say is if you're going into a prep, just make sure you're in the best position possible. You don't want to go into a prep with any like stresses in your life. You want to be nice and settled, ready to be the best athlete that you can be. Because otherwise, if there's stress going on, I think bodybuilding is just going to exaggerate the stress in that time. So
yeah, and have realistic expectations of what it involves.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
All right, Effie, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. I feel like we need to get you back on another time to get in a bit more depth and get some more questions rolling, but appreciate you so much. Are we going to see you at Nationals for IFB, or are you only doing Melbourne?
I'm going to do Nationals too, so I'll see you there.
See you there, 100%. So
Excited. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, ladies.
No problem.
Thank you.
Good luck, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon.